Time for one last question. Does everyone have a chance to respond to this last question? And it is somehow does reflect what you were just saying partly. It's from Olivia Morris.
As a 16-year-old living in a developed country, defining myself as a feminist has been a negative and disempowering experience, as the F word seems to be regarded as a pejorative stereotype or a justification for promiscuity. Given the real challenges faced by women in the third world, should we in the West not be devoting our energies to their cause? Is feminism in the first world obsolete?
Deborah, we'll start with you.
Well, you don't have to go to the third world. You could go to the Northern Territory. But what you'd find there are matriarchal societies of the longest continuing culture in the world, pulling their communities up by the bootstraps, often through the arts, which is something very close to my heart. So you don't have to look so far away. You can look through an Indigenous lens, make sure you get the right end of it. A lot of people look through the wrong end, so Indigenous anything seems a long way away. Look through the right end and you'll see that here is a country with, as you say, a lifestyle, a developed country, and yet there are people suffering not 2 hours on a plane from here.
Just going back to our last question, do you have any sense that Western feminism, Australian feminism being sort of dominated, I suppose, by relatively prosperous people, has been regarded as a kind of colonial thing in some respect?
Look, maybe, but I've always considered myself a feminist, but I've never asked anybody to validate that. I just know I am by my opinions. So I think that there are elements of feminism in ancient Aboriginal practice as there are in contemporary day Aboriginal society as well.
All right, we've got time for each of our panellists to answer the question that's been answered, but only a short time. So, Brooke, first to you.
I absolutely agree with Deborah that you don't have to go abroad to find inequality within your own society and problems that need solving at home. I do think it's a bit of a fallacy to go Western feminists can't do X because someone in Y is still having Z. There are things just right on our own doorsteps. This is why, personally, I've dedicated my activism to the rights of sex workers, even though I'm only an ex-sex worker, and there's still many, many diverse voices in the industry that need to be heard.
Mia.
Olivia, I'm sorry that you've found the word to be unhelpful. I think that certainly I feel that even if the word doesn't mean anything to a new generation, it's the intention. And not once have we talked about what feminism actually is. And I think that all it is wanting social, political and economic equality with men. And I think that it's about an ideal and about living that ideal. And I think that for me, I never even knew what the word feminism was. I lived it. My mother lived it. I lived it. It was in her life. It wasn't something that she did online in social media or in theory. It was something that she lived, and I learnt it through her demonstration. And I do the same to my daughter and my sons. I demonstrate feminism in the way I live my life.
Janet.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's unfortunate that feminism has become somewhat of a pejorative term. And I remember sitting in a green room at Channel 9 with a young girl. We were about to go on television to talk about women's issues, feminism, and she went on about how supportive she was of equality, and then she turned to me and said, "But don't get me wrong, I'm not a feminist because I like boys." And, you know, I think it's really interesting that, you know, in the younger generation, there is this sense that feminism is still quite anti-male. Yeah. I think there needs to be a whole re-education, if you like, of young girls and older women, actually, about what feminism is. I think there is a back to basics we need to... And please don't let that back to basics be man-hating. I think it's really counterproductive. I think liberation is so much more about, you know, looking out for what you want rather than caring about what men want.
Germaine, you like boys?
Sometimes. I think it's important to point out that we haven't even got there yet. When we talk about equality, we're actually enunciating a profoundly conservative aim. We just want to have what somebody else has got. We don't really want to change the whole system. Now, it's important that we do that stuff, that we go and fight in the army, and then we discover what armies do and how they make soldiers crazy, and we try to work out if there's any way forward using that particular paradigm, accepting the existing world as it's set up. So we join all the male organisations, we sit on the boards of companies that make all kinds of nasty things that hurt people without ever finding a moment where we can say, actually, can we just stop doing all of this and do something different? We're not even there yet. Until we've actually worked out how the world as we've inherited it works, how masculinity is imposed on men and what it does to them, because it is a very demanding and inhuman creed. Until we've figured that out, we cannot even see a way forward. But the way forward is there, and it's young women like you who are going to find it.
I'm afraid. Thank you very much. That's all we have time for tonight. Please thank our fabulous panel, Deborah Cheetham, Brooke Magnanti, Mia Freedman, Germaine Greer and Janet Albrechston. Deborah, that's your cue. Very good. Thank you. Join us next week when Q&A will be live from Launceston with Tasmanian Labor MP Dick Adams, the Shadow Minister for Industry, Sophie Mirabella, journalist and author David Marr, whose revised essay on the making of Tony Abbott has just been released, the head of the Tasmanian Farmers and Graziers Association, Jan Davis, and Green Senator Peter Whish-Wilson. And there'll be more news on the death of Margaret Thatcher on Lateline and on News Radio after this program. We'll finish tonight with Deborah Cheetham, accompanied by Tony Lalich, who sing the traditional Welsh song, Leili Leili. Till next week's Q&A, good night.
The water is wide, I cannot get o'er, and neither have I wings to fly. Give me a boat that will carry two, and both shall row, my love and I. Where love is planted, oh, there it grows. It grows and blossoms like a rose. It has a sweet and pleasant smell. No flower on earth can it excel. A ship there is, and she sails the sea. She's loaded deep as deep can be, but not so deep as the love I'm in. I know not if
If you'd like to join the